Good morning and welcome to Business Morning. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. Nigeria's inflation rose to 13.22% year-on-year in August. This is 0.40% points higher than the rate recorded in July 2020, which was 12.82%. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased to 1.34% in August 2020. This is 0.09% higher than the rate recorded in July 2020, which was 1.25%. The urban inflation rate increased to 13.83% year-on-year from 13.40% recorded in July 2020, while the rural inflation rate increased to 12.65% in August from 12.28% in July. Well, data released this morning by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that on a month-on-month basis, the urban index rose to 1.42% in August, up by 0.15 from 1.27% recorded in July, while the rural index also rose to 1.27%, up by 0.04% from the rate recorded in July. Now, the composite food index rose to 16% in August compared to 15.48% in July. On month-on-month basis, the food index increased to 1.67%, up by 0.15% points from 1.52% recorded in July. Now, this rise in the food index was caused by increases in prices of bread and cereals, potatoes, yam and other tubers, meat, fish, fruits, oils and fats and vegetables. The core inflation, which excludes the prices of volatile agricultural produce, stood at 10.52% in August, up by 0.42% when compared with 10.10% recorded in July. On a month-on-month basis, the core sub-index increased to 1.05% in August. This was up by 0.30% when compared with 0.75% recorded in July. The highest increases were recorded in prices of passenger transport by air, hospital services, medical services, pharmaceutical products, maintenance and repair of personal transport equipment, vehicle spare parts, motor cars, passenger transport by road, miscellaneous services relating to the dwelling, repair of furniture, and paramedical services. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari last week restated his stance on local food production and asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop issuing foreign exchange for all food and fertilizer imports. With food inflation at all-time high, now currently at 13.22%, where does that leave food security in Nigeria? I'm being joined by an agriculturalist and the CEO, Bama Farms, Mr. Wale Oyekoya. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Oyekoya.
Nice for having me.
Now, first, let's get your take on the just released inflation numbers, particularly the food inflation. Yes, does that worry you?
I'm not surprised and I'm not worried in the sense that this is what we've been talking about. See, we just keep on having the same problem over and over and over and over until a certain situation is put on the place that enough is enough. Because had it been that we already prepared for most of these happenings, it wouldn't have been able to be like this. Forget about COVID-19 that is even complicating the issues. What about before the COVID-19? What are the preparations do we put in place? What do we have in the storage facilities to really cushion the effect of our citizens should in case before this something like this COVID-19 happened? So all over the world, COVID-19 pandemics affected everybody. But every country is trying to be able to provide comfort for their citizens. But here in the country, what are we doing? Don't get me wrong. The Nigerian government are trying their possible best to really bridge the gaps, but that's why they are releasing some of these funds into SME, MSME, and the agricultural sector. But the point is this money really getting to the hands of the people that really need it? The government meant well, don't get me wrong, but where the problem lacks is the implementation of some of these policies. Yeah, what the president have said that to ban most of the bull food coming to the country is in the right step, if really want to encourage food security in the country. But whereby you are not supervising where you are releasing this money, it's a big problem, because I'm here to be corrected. If some of this money, even if 1/3 really get to the hands of the farmers, we will not find ourselves in this situation. I just traveled around last week to Kebbi. What the president was saying was true about the flood with the food. Here in the Southwest, we are crying for rain. Over there, the rain is in excess. So it's a big problem on both regions, both in the northern region and the southern regions.
Okay, now, if you have pointed out these issues, you talked about the flood. We also have the insecurity situation in the northeast there. And then, of course, we're having food inflation. And then you're saying, okay, what the president is saying, you're talking about banning food importation now. Is it the right time to really come about this? Do we have sufficiency when it comes to food production?
I'm not saying it's the right time, but what I'm saying is that we cannot be importing what we can produce in the country. But we have not really put in place what's supposed to be. We're supposed to be self-sufficiency before you can ban some of this food, because you can imagine how many people will go hungry. I have not finished my story. My people are still on the way to Kebbi now for the past 3 days. They couldn't get here because of the infrastructure. The road is really bad. In fact, I met a lady that she borrowed about 2 million naira to go and buy some of this farm produce. Everything perished on the road because of the bad road. So if you really want to provide food security in the country, security really matters. Your infrastructure on the road really matters. Then when the goods get to the market, does the money we have really worth buying some of these things we have? The minimum we have not been implemented. Right now, they increase the tariff for the electricity, they increase for petroleum. All these things is going to be having adverse effect on citizens and on what we are selling.
Now, all right, let's look at some of the causes of the increase in food inflation. We've seen one notable one is bread. And, of course, bakers now are agitating. They're saying, they've just said that they are going to increase further the price of bread. And if I would recall, this brings us to the issue of maize. Now, recently, we had the central bank announcing that it will not give forex to maize importers. And then a few weeks after, now, announced exactly to give some importers some kind of forex to still bring in this same product. How does that come across to you?
To me, it's a double tragedy in the sense that maize has been a staple food in Nigeria, being competing with the animals and human consumptions. Because you have to remember the cornflakes you eat is from the maize, the golden morn you eat is from the maize. And 75% of livestock feed come from the maize. You can imagine we are buying maize for 200,000 per ton, which we used to buy for 70 or 60,000 per ton. So this is having an adverse effect. If you look at crate of egg now from the farm gate, it's not less than 1,000 naira. By the time you get to the consumers, it's about 1,000 to how much is the salary of an average worker. So all this is going to have an effect. What's supposed to have been done here is that we're supposed to be having a sufficiency. That's why I talk about storage facility. The federal government released about 5,000 metric tons of maize. Does it get to anywhere? No, we could even feed the impact. Now,
how much do we have in the strategic reserve?
I think around that time, I think they said we have about 10,000 metric tons. So 5,000 were released. What happened to the other 5,000? It was shared among the top. You understand? So what I'm talking about now that
when you say among the top, I'm sorry.
Yes, among the big players, like they have big farms.
Okay.
You cannot, you know what I'm talking about. You cannot tell me that Abdul Salam or other farms like that, Flawiya farms, they have to get the top. They have to get the first percent. But what I'm saying here that we've been talking about mechanization all this while. With our population over 200 million, there's no way you expect people to still be going to the farm with cutlass and hoe. This is where the problem is. And you have to understand that many people that plant this maize, they are planting grains, not seed. We're supposed to be planting seed in order for us to get high yield. But we are not planting seed. Even the few ones we have in the circulation, they are all imported. Why can't we do our own research and development and be able to develop the seed and be able to germinate and produce well in our own climate, instead of relying on the foreign and imported seed to plant for our own climate?
So do you think we have the capacity to really produce this maize? Because if we are blessed with an expansive arable land,
yes,
I'm just wondering if we should be importing maize.
We are so blessed in this country, and I keep on saying that ordinary seed of maize, you trade it down in your backyard, it's going to grow. My challenge is, we keep on talking about the federal government. What about the state government? Because all the lands in the country lies in the hands of the states. Are they really utilizing the land that is given to them, that is just lying down? If you travel all the way from here to the north, left and right is bush. So why can't they just bring mechanization, maybe about 10 bulldozer and about 20 tractor? We do this job. We keep on talking about spending 600 billion naira on food from January to this moment. I can't see the effect. I cannot see the impact of the 600 billion. But what I'm saying that is this, if half of this money is really injected into this sector, we will not be having the problem we are having today. And we just started. Because by December, most of this, you can imagine we are buying rice now for 27 to 30,000 naira per bag. You can imagine what it's going to be in December. And the rain that doesn't come in June, July, August, we are supposed to be expecting early Maize. There's nowhere to be found. And the rain that just come now, you might think it's a blessing for the farmers. But most of what they have in the farm already got burnt. They already got spoiled. So it's either you plant another maize now, we just pray for the rain to continue so that by December we can be able to have another robust harvest.
Well, you are into poultry farm, and this issue, I remember when this policy was announced, yes, the issue of limiting the amount of forex given to maize importers. I mean, the poultry farmers cried out that it was affecting them. You are into that business. How much did that really impact you?
It really have a damaging effect on all poultry farmers, not only me. And I'm not only on poultry, I'm on crops also. So I know the effect of what farmers are really going through now. I've seen so many farmers burying their eggs, especially during the COVID-19, where the government said that the farmer can move freely. It's like they are giving the license to the police and the law enforcement to be making money out of these people, to the extent that we have to come to the media that are listening. Farmers need to go to the farm. If we have been allowed to go to the farm, most of the problem we have now might be able to be reduced. But so every poultry farmer, as I'm talking today, they're all crying foul, in the sense that the feed that's supposed to be like 75% of their overhead cost is not there to be found. The feed have risen to as high as about 4,000 naira per bag, which we used to buy like 2006, 2008. So it's a very big challenge. So for few people to be importing this maize, it's supposed to be a leverage and a relief, but I doubt it, because by the time most of these maize come back, things have been really messed up, because it's going to take not minimum like 2 to 3 months before this maize can even arrive into the country. The same way what we are planting now, we take another 3 months before it could be available.
Yeah. All right. Now, given the depreciation of the naira and the foreign exchange market now, I mean, should we be talking about importing maize? What can we do to really be self-sufficient in maize production in Nigeria?
Well, there's no substitution for maize for now. The only thing we can use for substitution is like wheat. Wheat is even more expensive. So I think with the situation in the country now, we have no choice than to import some of this thing, as long as it's going to get to the hands of the people that need it. Because you have to understand, as I said, that maize is being consumed by animals and by humans also. So we are all competing for this maize, because this is the only carbohydrate that you can get, and which are carbohydrate turned into energy that give to animals at the same time to the human being. So right now, I think the federal government, through the president, feel that with all what is happening, let us just give a cushion effect for some people to bring this maize in. But I'm advising the federal government that before this maize come in, we're supposed to have a mass production of this maize so that we can have some in stock, because December is already right here. And you know that the consumption is always very high when it comes to festive period, which is around December time.
But then we have just so few commercial farmers. I mean, most of our farmers are small scale. So how do we achieve that? That's
why I'm talking about commercialization. And that's why I'm talking about the state government. Let us forget about the federal government. We have too much pressure on the federal government. What about the state government that have the license to do whatever they can do with the land?
Within their states.
Within their states. Are you talking of Lagos State, Ogun State, Oyo State, Ekiti State? Massive land, abundant land that can be given to farmer with CFO, because there's no point giving farmland to the farmer with no title. Because there's no way you can just go to the bank or to your friends and You want to borrow money without no title to the land. So these are the problems that have been reoccurring that the state governments are not even really looking into it. And believe me honestly, if the federal government can tell the state government, go out there and go and look for your own internal, go and generate your own revenue, a lot of these states will tap into the agriculture. It's a very huge investment, but they are not tapping into it.
Now, in the last GDP number that was released, the agriculture sector was one of the sectors that actually, gained. So how would you, looking at the current situation in the sector and then the issue of food security and all the problems, that come with it, how would you assess the federal government's agriculture policies? And of course, I know there have been a lot of interventions by the central bank, towards agriculture, towards food production. How would you assess all of these?
Well, I will assess them as average in the sense that we have been having nice policy, beautiful policies. But the implementation, as I keep on saying, you talk about interventions. And I just said that almost about 600 billion, according to the CBN, have been released to this sector, to the agri sector. And I keep on asking, if truly half of this 600 billion is injected into the agricultural sector, into the hands of real farmers, we'll be able to do more. And the government will be able to be given a pass mark. You cannot just concentrate on a certain region and neglect the other region. Just like what I said, we are praying for the rain in the south. And in the north, the rain is stopping them. So what really happened? Why can't we work together? Like when we are looking for rain here, we could have used irrigation system. And by the time we get to dry season in the north, they can still use the irrigation system. We are in a country where we just depend on the rain. So we're a rain-fed nation. And it's not supposed to be. With the population we have, and to me, a lot still needs to be done in the sector if you are really going to be off the hook of the food crisis in this country. Because food security is very, very important. Any nation you go, once your people are well fed, a lot of things will come in place.
And of course, research is key.
It's key.
How would you assess the Agric Research Institute?
We have not been doing much of research. I've been to NIHO, I've been to NIFOR. Even I wanted to buy about 10,000 ceilings of oil palm. If you go there now, they will tell you in under 1 year before you could get the seedling. So there have been a lot of politics, and there have been a lot of non-implementations of so many policies. Go to the CRANE, which is the Cocoa Research Institute. It's nothing to write home. We used to be number one in cocoa, rubber, oil palm in the 60s, but look at it today. We're in the back front. It's not supposed to. We're supposed to be in the front. We are supposed to be the leader and be putting all the other African countries through. All the African countries are looking towards us for help, but we cannot even help ourselves. We are just giants for nothing. So a lot needs to be done if we can have visionary leaders that could say, listen, we need to really, because agri sector is the only one that gives us a lot of cushions in terms of employment and in terms of increasing of our revenue. Without technology, there's nothing you can do. Every other country, they are going to technology on how they can improve on the agricultural sector, but we're not doing that in Nigeria.
So looking at the way things are going, what is your short to medium-term outlook on this sector?
Well, I think the president is taking the right step for few complaints to bring some of this maize. But as I said, it's going to just be a drop in the bucket with the kind of demand for maize. The rice also, if you remember, the federal government really relying on Kebbi as their playboy. That yes, if you want rice, go and look at what we did in Kebbi. But right now, Kebbi is in a mess. Especially with the rain, as I told you, we went to Kebbi recently, you will wait for these farmers. Because the rain have taken over, and the road is not even good. You can take 3 days from Kebbi to get to Lagos, as bad as the road is. So the federal government need to call all the state governors. Stop coming to the federal. Stop coming to the central. Go and see how you can generate your own revenue with agricultural value chains in your own state. And I bet a lot will be done. And don't just shy away that you will not give them modern tools to be used. Because without the modern tools, all these things we are talking about, because when you're talking of value chain, you are talking of equipment. That's why the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria are crying to the federal government, reduce the interest rate you give to the to the manufacturer's loan.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. Wale Oyekoya is an agriculturist and the CEO of Bama Farms. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk more on the inflation numbers on our commodities market segment after the break. Do stay with us.